Hola, bienvenidos a Spanish with Profe. Hello, welcome to Spanish with Profe. In today's lesson, we are going to learn about la voz pasiva con ser. In today's lesson, we're going to learn about the passive voice with ser, but I'm also going to give you a little bit of introduction of usage of estar with the past participles and adjective as well, to talk about the result of a condition, and also the fact that in Spanish we mainly use se impersonal, the impersonal se, instead of the passive voice with ser. But it is there, but relatively speaking, we use more the impersonal se. ¿Listos, chicos? Ready? Vamos a comenzar. Let's begin. La voz pasiva con ser. The passive voice with ser will use the past participle, and remember that regular verbs ending in R go to ado or ada, ado for masculine. You will change the O into an A for feminine, singular, and then you can add an S when they're plural. The past participles and adjective has to agree both in number and in gender. And the error is going to be ido, feminine ida, plural idos or idas, as you can see there. The passive voice is used when the element acted upon is the grammatical subject of the sentence. We'll see those in a few minutes. In other words, the direct object has become the passive subject. Thus, the receiver of the action has shifted positions with the performer of the action. So in this case, whatever was being the direct object becomes the subject of the sentence in that matter. The passive voice, la voz pasiva. This is the formula. Esta es la fórmula que debes recordar. Sujeto más a form of ser, the verb ser, más the past participle as an adjective, singular, plural, masculine, feminine, más for, más the agent or the person who in the active voice did the action, but now it's just like it's done by them. Pero muy bien. Pero vamos a ver. In the passive voice, the subject receives rather than performs the action of the verb. We'll see that in a minute. In the active voice, the subject performs the action of the verb. It is more common to use the impersonal se in Spanish than the passive voice. So that's one of the big differences between English and Spanish. Then in Spanish, we mainly will use the SE Impersonal. And I'll give you some examples of that coming up. In the past participle, there are some irregular verbs that you will need to memorize. Also remember that with ser, the past participle is used as an adjective. So pay attention to number, singular, plural, and gender, masculine, feminine. That's why at the beginning on my second, when I started the lesson, it has AR, ado, /a, /s. Masculine is always given, and then you have to make it feminine. And then if it's plural, you have to add an S. Because in Spanish, any adjective that ends with an O, or a vowel in that case, just add an S to make it plural. But remember that in Spanish, adjectives must agree in number and in gender. So masculine, masculine, feminine, feminine, plural, plural. Muy bien. So here are some of the verbs. Abrir, abierto, cubrir, cubierto, decir, dicho, describir, descrito. 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 descubrir, descubierto, escribir, escrito, hacer, hecho, morir, muerto, poner, puesto, resolver, resuelto, romper, roto, ver, visto, volver, vuelto. So this is the masculine form of the past participle as an adjective. When you are using them, you have to pay attention to whether it's referring to a masculine subject, whether it's singular or plural, or whether it's referring to a feminine subject, whether it's singular or plural, and make the adjustment. The adjustment. Sorry. So abierto will go to abierta, or abiertos, or abiertas, depending whether it's singular, plural, masculine, or feminine. Hecho will go to hecha if it's feminine, or hechos if it's plural masculine, or hechas if it's plural feminine. Muy bien. The following are some spelling changes you will have to keep in mind when performing the past participle with ser. Remember that with ser, past participle is used as an adjective, so pay attention once again to numbers, singular, plural, and to gender, masculine and feminine. And remember that in the past participle, verbs ending in er and ir, whose stem end in a, e, o, carry a written tilde on the I. For example, caer es caído, creer es creído, leer es leído, oír es oído, reír es reído, sonreír es sonreído, and traer es traído. I'll go slower. Caer, caído, creer, creído, leer, leído, oír, oído. That is also the noun for the ear canal. Reír, reído, sonreír, sonreído, traer, traído. Once again, if they're going to be used with ser, later on, as I'm going to show you some examples with estar, they are adjectives, so they have to agree both in number and in gender. So leído, if it's referring to masculine, singular will be leído. El libro fue leído por la profesora. Los libros fueron leídos por la profesora. The books were read by the teacher. El discurso fue oído por los participantes. The lecture was heard by the participants. Muy bien. Sigamos. So remember, as adjectives, they must agree in number and in gender. And that's how they're going to be used here with ser and in a few examples with estar. Okay? Sigamos. Continuemos, chicos. Ejemplos de la voz activa a la voz pasiva. Nosotros recibimos a los invitados. Nosotros recibimos a los invitados. En español es fácil de detectar the person not doing the action by following the a. La A personal. We have a personal A, so anytime you're doing an action for somebody else, if it's a person or a pet, like a dog or a cat, you'll have the A right there. La A personal. La A personal, right there. Sigamos. So that's an active voice. Nosotros recibimos a los invitados. Los invitados fueron recibidos. Then this is the passive voice. So los invitados es plural. So since los invitados es plural, entonces el verbo ser goes in the past indicative, plural, and then the given verb recibir goes to recibidos as a past participle. Plural, subject is plural, verb is plural, and the past participle as an adjective is plural. Masculino también. Muy bien. And using the SE Impersonal, you say se, and since it's a los invitados es plural, the verb must be plural after se. So recibieron a los invitados. So we have the passive voice with se and also the passive voice with el SE Impersonal en español, this is the one that we use the most. Muy bien, sigamos. Más ejemplos de la voz activa a la voz pasiva. Yo hice la cama. So I made the bed. Using the passive voice with ser, la cama becomes the subject. The helping verb is ser, in this case is fue, in the past pretérito form. And the verb hacer, which is the infinitive, becomes hecha, since it's one of the irregular verbs, hecha. So, la cama, singular femenino, the helping verb ser to form the passive voice is in here, third person singular, and hecha is the past participle of the verb hacer as an adjective, and is singular femenino, to match la cama. Okay, muy bien. And then you can see the English translation in there. Muy bien, siga. Más ejemplos de la voz activa a la voz pasiva. Tú escribiste los correos electrónicos. So, you wrote the emails. En español, correos electrónicos. Una palabra muy larga. So, en español, we have incorporated los emails. Los emails, short, but with a Spanish accent. That will be a word of anglicismo when you just use a word from English into Spanish. Anglicismo with a Spanish accent. Los emails. Los correos electrónicos. So now you see that. So you wrote the emails becomes the emails were written, fueron escritos. So, los correos electrónicos, plural, therefore, ser must be in the third person plural, and the given verb escribir becomes escritos as the past participle masculino plural. Muy bien, and then you see the English translation. Excelente. Sigamos. Más ejemplos, más ejemplos. Shakira grabará su nuevo disco el próximo año. Shakira grabará su nuevo disco el próximo año. Grabará means to record. And that is in the future. Okay? Disco is an album. You can see the English translation in there. And then, so in this case, el nuevo disco becomes the subject of the sentence. De Shakira será grabado. We're going to keep the same tense. So this is in the future. So you must use ser in the future form. And then the given verb in the past participle as an adjective. Since the subject is disco, is grabado. Masculino, verbo auxiliar singular, past participle of the verb grabar, singular masculino. Excelente. And then you see the English translation. Muy bien. And now we're going to see some examples of ser and estar using the past participle as an adjective, okay? Yo compré una casa ayer. This is an active voice, and the English translation is here in red, as you can see it. The passive voice, la voz pasiva utilizando ser es la casa fue comprada, and you can omit por mí, it's not important. And then you can see the English translation. So, I bought the house was bought by me, by somebody. So, la casa, singular femenino, the helping verb ser en el pasado, singular tercera persona, y the given verb comprar becomes comprada because it has to agree with la casa femenino singular, una palabra femenina singular. Sigamos. So that is an example of the passive action using ser plus the past participle. Always remember that when you're using the past participle with either ser or estar, it must agree both in number and in gender. Singular, plural, masculino, femenino. Okay, muy bien. And then the result using estar will be la casa está comprada. So la casa is the subject. The helping verb is estar for the condition, the result of that condition, and is comprada because it's referring to la casa. Okay? Notice the difference between the house was bought versus the house is bought. Okay? So we don't use ser and estar interchangeably. They both mean something else. Sigamos. That's the resultant, a condition. So for that, we use estar plus the past participle as an adjective. So pay attention to both single, plural, masculine, feminine. So number and gender. Impersonal se. When the doer of the action is not a part of the statement, not present, or even relevant to the focus of the sentence, Spanish uses the impersonal se. And I'm giving you some examples. So you use se plus the verb in the third person singular plural. Se habla español. Spanish is spoken here. You might have seen a lot of these signs in a lot of establishments. They're just telling you Spanish is spoken there. They don't tell you who, but they're just telling you that's available in there, that you can communicate with somebody in español. Se vende en casa. So in this one, if you notice, we have se and then the verb venden, and that is plural because casas is plural. So if the noun is plural, the verb must be plural. If the noun is singular, then the verb must be singular. So you have to use se plus the given verb, either singular or plural, because it matches whatever the noun is. Singular, singular, okay? Plural, plural. Excelente, muy bien. Summary of ser, estar, and se. When you use ser, and it's followed by a past participle, it will express an action in the passive voice. En español, tenemos la voz pasiva con se, pero no se usa mucho como en inglés. En inglés se utiliza más que en español. En español nosotros vamos a utilizar más el SE Impersonal. Okay? Se refers to an action being performed. When you use estar and is followed by a past participle, it will express a condition or a state that is the result of an action. So remember, they're not interchangeable. Ser and estar are not. No son intercambiables. Significan una cosa muy diferente dependiendo de cómo se utilicen, okay? I know that it's a very distinct feature of Spanish in which, like, we use, for the verb to be, we have ser, estar, and in some cases we also have hacer to talk about the weather, and haber, for there is, there are. So, las cosas se pueden complicar un poco. So, sigamos. So both ser and estar will use the past participles as an adjective. Therefore, it will agree in both number, singular y plural, and in género, masculino y femenino. Keep that in mind. Anytime you see something on a test, it's always the masculine form, and that one you have to readjust it to agree both in number and in gender. Okay, pero muy bien. Most likely O goes to an A, and anything that ends in a vowel, in Spanish, we just add an S to make it plural. If what is being focused on is not the action or who did it, but rather the result of it, then use estar in the past participle as an adjective. So we're talking about the result. So passive voice, use ser plus the past participle as an adjective. The result of something uses estar, okay? Or the condition of something will use estar, plus the past participle as an adjective in which they agree both in number and in gender. And then if there is no agent implied, the impersonal se is preferred. So in that, this is more incongruent with Spanish. This is more how we rather use, in Spanish, we rather use the active voice, and if that's not available, then we'll use the impersonal se. but hardly do we ever use the passive voice with ser, but it is there, but it's to a minimum, not like in English. Okay, pues sí. Bueno, sigamos, chicos, y estas siguientes oraciones son para que practiques cómo utilizar tanto ser para hacer la voz pasiva como estar para hablar sobre el resultado de una condición. So, the following are for you to practice using ser as in the passive voice in Spanish, and estar to talk about the resultant or the condition of something. Pero vamos a ver. Susana escribió un libro sobre perros. So, Susana escribió un libro sobre perros is the active voice. So, what did Susana write? A book about dogs. So, in your new sentence, un libro will be the new subject instead of Susana. Susana. So remember that in the passive voice, the direct object becomes the subject of the sentence. Pero muy bien, sigamos. Los profesores corrigieron los deberes. Los profesores corrigieron los deberes. So the professors corrected the homework. So in this case, what do you think is the new subject of the passive voice? Los deberes, correcto. Los deberes. La señora Fuentes compró una mascota. La señora Fuentes compró una mascota. What did Miss Fuentes buy? She got a pet. So what is the new subject of the new sentence? Let's see. I'm going to wait for you to tell me. And I want to hear you tell me. So make sure that when you're recording this, I can hear you say it. Una mascota es correcto, correcto. So that's how you're going to begin your new sentence with the passive voice with ser or the resultant condition with estar. Los perros corrieron 3 millas. Los perros corrieron 3 millas. Okay. You should do the other ones. I'm not going to give you any more hints. Pero recuerden, in the passive voice, the direct object becomes the new subject when you rewrite it. Okay, keep that in mind. And also in the resultant state with estar. Nosotros enviamos las cartas. Nosotros enviamos las cartas. Recuerden, chicos, one last hint. All of these sentences that you have in here are using the active voice, but I want you to rewrite them using the passive voice with ser and the resultant state of things with estar, in which they're going to use the past participle as an adjective that agrees both in number and in gender. So remember that all these verbs, escribió, corrigieron, compró, corrieron, enviamos, must become the past participle, and they go both, and all of the sentences will have to be rewritten using ser plus the past participle as an adjective to talk about the passive voice in Spanish, and you're also going to use estar plus the past participle as an adjective to talk about the resultant condition of something. Muy bien. Muchas gracias por ver este video. If you like what you see, please like, share, and subscribe. Hasta pronto y muchas gracias. Chao. Chao, chao, chao. Smash the like button. Smash the like button.